Hi everyone, I wanted to hop on here and introduce you to myself. My name is Jordan. I am the mother of a recently turned 4-year-old son named Henry. And I wanted to really hop on here to tell Henry's story in more of a verbal format. I have shared lots of bios and little things like that on Instagram with written descriptions of Henry's journey for the past year from ages 3 to 4. However, I think it's almost better to tell his story in a verbal format. So if you want to listen along, I'll kind of give you a little bit of background of my experience with his autism diagnosis, and I'd love to hear more experiences, comments, feedbacks, anything. So I really didn't notice anything particularly up with Henry's development until he was about 24 months old. My mother is a speech therapist, so that has really helped us in his journey. She really spotted the signs early on, and definitely we all kind of were on the same page by about 24 months that he definitely was showing autism signs. So when Henry was 2 years old, he only had single words, but he never used functional language. His eye contact was inconsistent. He liked repetitive type of activities, concrete activities, they would say, like putting a penny in a drop box or putting a ball in a drop type of toy. He really enjoyed that kind of stuff. He always enjoyed singing. Very musical child. Could pick up any song quickly. He would sing lyrics of songs, but he would not say, "I'm thirsty" or "I'm hungry." He wouldn't say "mama." He wouldn't say "daddy" in the contextual way. And it was really interesting too, because if you back up about a year to his 12-month 1-year appointment was when the pediatrician said, "Oh my gosh, wow, he's so advanced," because he was imitating so well. He was waving, babbling, always was connected to us. So this whole thing has always been confusing to me, but when I read other stories of other people, it does make sense, where they kind of appear typical and then things change along the way. I remember specifically at his 24-month appointment, they ask in a survey to parents if your child is saying 2-word sentences yet. And that's kind of where I feel like is one of the big signs where his language kind of diverged into another developmental path. He had a hard time putting 2 words together in a functional sentence. But yet on the flip side, he was great at echolalia and could repeat anything you would say. So there was always this understanding in my mind that he wasn't nonverbal, but he didn't have communication. So that's always been confusing to the language aspect part of this as well. But we had him enrolled into early intervention through the state of Illinois when he was 2. So the whole year he was 2, he received speech, he received OT and developmental therapy in our home about 3 hours a week. And they did all of the main evaluations that were used later for his official medical autism diagnosis. So the whole year he was 2, we waited. We did early intervention through the state of Illinois, and he still progressed, but it was that receptive language part that was just the big kicker for me, following the simple commands. Go get me that shoe. Go get me your cup, or yes or no questions, things that other children were starting to pick up on, even though they didn't have a great array of language. I just noticed he was so object-based receptively, when he was about nearing 3, he would like point to different animals if I would ask him to, like, where's the zebra? Where's the lion? So there was some receptive working, but I really did not see any major functional receptive language until the past 4 or 5 months, and he just turned 4 in January. Okay, so we finally get to 2 days before his 3rd birthday, the big autism diagnosis day, and my mother had prepared me that they were going to diagnose him. I still had hope that maybe it was some kind of sensory processing disorder. He was quite an eloper. We took him to Costa Rica right before he turned 3. He's a January baby, so it was Christmas. He was 2, so almost 3. And that was a fun but stressful trip because the safety awareness was not there. So yes, just all these things working together. My mom kind of prepared me, they're gonna diagnose him. So, we get to the place that they diagnose most of the autistic kids in our area in the United States. And, they do the ADOS, I'm pretty sure. They do the CARS assessment, and, everything comes back, and he behaved terribly. He did not like being in an enclosed room, being asked things of people he did not know. So everything at the end of their assessments pointed towards moderate, almost severe. They said he's basically like smack dab in the middle of the spectrum. Make sure you get services, and that's kind of it. But, a lot of people have these negative stories about their developmental pediatricians saying, oh, they won't do this, they won't do that. But thankfully, I did not have that experience. They said, there's lots of autistic people who get married, have children, have careers. So I just always hang on to any kind of hope that anyone ever tells me, because, you just never know what your child is going to amount to. And what does that even mean in society? We could just dig deeper and deeper into what does it all mean to be a person? So the reality kind of hits pretty much straight away, and I'm not necessarily super negative straight away because, it's kind of that relief, like, okay, like I have this like confirmation, blah, blah, blah. But very quickly it kind of turned to true anxiety. Very, very quickly, because there's that profound autism side of it. And when a child is so young, they're a moving target. That's one thing I wanted to touch on about Henry, is it's been a year since he's had his diagnosis. He just turned 4. We've gone back to the same office, the developmental pediatrician's office. I've spoken with the same diagnostic pediatrician over messages, and everyone agrees he's a moving target and he's doing so well. So, we're keeping an eye on his development. So, but anyway, it's just so scary to live in that space where you don't know what's going to happen. Like, your child has these skills, but yet they're not developing typically. You want to give them all the services in the world, yet you want them to still be a kid. It's quite overwhelming. So once we kind of accepted the reality of Henry's diagnosis, we just kind of went headfirst into more early intervention. He started preschool. He's in a mainstream classroom, and we have had another yearly IEP meeting since he's been in school. And we did talk about placement, and I know sometimes people don't want to talk about that when they're that young, blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to know as his mom kind of, where they thought he was at, and they said they wanted to keep him in the mainstream classroom for now. A lot of this is always just wait and see. That's what's so anxiety inducing about all of it. But yeah, he's had services through the school. He's had private speech. He's had private OT. But ABA really, I would say, is 60% of our life, Henry's life. I really like ABA for him. I mean, he has been able to become more verbal. I know he's made a true friend. There's so much about ABA that is good. And it took some time to get used to it, but the techs at our center are just amazing. Like, he's potty trained. Like, he doesn't do everything in the bathroom himself, obviously, but we don't use any pull-ups. And he just uses a reward-based thing, but we fade the rewards over time. He's starting to talk in sentences more. The echolalia and gestalt stuff is still going hard, but it seems like he's going through the stages. So I'm not sure when he will become truly conversational. Yeah, that's answering like, how's your day? That kind of stuff. I know we're just going to have to wait and see with that too. But he's really developing, and he's just such an interesting real little guy. He's just awesome. You know, I just want parents to understand that when they receive this diagnosis, you're going to live in an anxiety space, but there are people out there that will help you, and they will help your child. And you can probably hear him kind of screaming because he's playing with his dad down there. But yeah, just trust that your child is competent no matter what, and push them. Even if your life doesn't look like other people's, it's okay. They're going to have their own like tribe of people one day. Another thing I really wanted to touch on with Henry that I find very interesting in this whole autism experience is the gestalt part of this, the echolalia part of this, and the academic intelligence part of this, okay? So my son has a hard time communicating his needs, social communication, okay? So that's always going to be a struggle for him. Yet details and memory and like the academic memory of everything is a strong suit for him. Like, he actually is above average in his knowledge of the ABCs and the letters and the shapes and the colors when they assessed him when he was about 3.5 through the public school, you know. And I know that they're not messing around when they tell me this kind of stuff. Like, they're outside parties. It's not me, mom, being like, my kid's so smart, see, look, ha ha. No, he is smart. Every child is smart. But you see what I'm saying? Like, they have these strengths and they have these weaknesses. And I feel like as parents, we need to focus on their strengths. A lot of them are academically smart. That's kind of why I feel like he has this ability to sort of function somewhat in that mainstream, because, you know, he'll verbally like say all these things. It's just the WH questions he will struggle with. So, you know, just the memory he has, and that he has an ear for music. Like, he could just sing. He could do accents. We're American. I'm from Kentucky. You know, he can do a British accent and an Australian accent. He just picks up on tone so well, which is so common within autistic people. So, you know, you can come along with me, guys, if you want. I can do deep dives. I could do all kinds of stuff. I've got my plants here. I guess I'm an autism mom. I'm posting. Come listen to some more things I have to say.